We at Crowdsourced Politics have been reporting on updates for January 6th at least once a month as new allegations and new revelations have come to light. In the most recent surfacing of this is about the Proud Boys. So speaking of QAnon bullshit, as you know, one of the biggest contributors to the January 6th insurrection was QAnon. In addition, revelations about January 6th have made headlines this week. First up is a meeting between the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers. According to a Justice Department court filing in the Southern District of Florida, being raided. Death of Certainty, my bro. Thank you. Oh, let's shout out Death of Certainty. Oh, can I shout you out? Oh, come on, man. You must have signed off. Okay, Death of Certainty. Hi, everybody. Oh, come on. Let me shout you out then. Man. For whatever reason, Death, it's not letting me shout you out. So let's do this here. I'm going to jump over. All right. I'm going to jump over really quick to Twitch. Mute this site. And we'll start over the segment for everybody that just came in there. All right. Promise. We'll get this. I will get my Stream Deck working eventually. All right. So everybody that is watching here that hadn't been watching from the raid we just got from Death of Certainty, please go follow him now. He is good people, very knowledgeable, good dude. Tries to report the news similar to the way I do, and that's why we love him. So, welcome everybody. If you are just joining us from this raid, or you were joined us previously, this is the Crowdsourced Politics News Roundup. I am the host and moderator of the Crowdsourced Politics Cypher, and we do this roundup every Thursday from 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to roughly about 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, providing you with the kind of analysis only the crowd can provide. Prior to this raid here, we were just getting into our discussion about revelations from January 6th that happened today, or in the last few days rather, about the Proud Boys. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. And we are so glad that you all were able to join us. So, restarting our segment about the Proud Boys. Speaking of QAnon bullshit, as you know, one of the biggest contributors to the January 6th insurrection was the conspiracy of QAnon. In addition to revelations about that's a typo. So from this, we have got additional revelations about January 6th that have made headlines this week. First up is a meeting between Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers. According to a Justice Department court filing in the Southern District of Florida, a documentary crew was present and obtained audio of the meeting between the leader and founder of the Oath Keepers, Elmer Stewart Rhodes, and the leader of the Proud Boys, Enrique Tarino. The meeting took place on January 5th in an underground parking lot in Washington, D.C. During the meeting, Tarino had claimed that he cleared all the messages from his phone before being arrested and that no one would be able to access his phone because it required 2 steps to get in, possibly alluding to a 2-way authentication system. Additionally, the court filing claimed that Tarino maintained command and control over Proud Boy leadership within DC on January 6th through messaging apps despite losing access to his phone due to his arrest on January 5th. One such message posted to Proud Boys leadership channel known as MOSD leaders and members read that, quote, "Everyone needs to meet at the Washington Monument at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. Do not be late. Do not wear colors. Details will be laid out at the pre-meeting. Come as a patriot." Now, the Justice Department made the filings in an effort to keep Tarino in detention pending trial. While Reuters was first reported the meeting between the two groups' leadership last month, the new information revealed in the court filings shed new light on and exposed the extent of the Proud Boys' planning of January 6th. In fact, we actually should read some of this filings here together to order to give a clear picture of just what we are talking about. And it's always better to have it directly from the horse's mouth. Oh, what was that? Hey, thanks for the donation. Appreciate it. Sorry. Okay, that's funny. Before we get out, that's funny. That's a funny one. So I heard Revelations, and I thought this was going to be a Bible study. I was eyeing the X on the browser. Sorry about that, Goth Gash. No, you get it though. You get it. All right, appreciate everybody coming in. So I just need to scroll down on this to get to the right section to read, and I believe it is court filing. Jump to here we go. So we're just going to jump to this section really quick. There we go, and we're going to go over to the section. All right, let's make sure that it is on screen. All right, it is on screen. It is on screen, and then we're going to zoom it in. All right, so. Now, as described in greater detail in the incident, the Proud Boys, sorry, you probably can't read this, so I'm going to do it this way. As described in greater detail in the incident, the Proud Boys played an instrumental role in the attack on the Capitol on January 6. After assembling at the Washington Monument shortly after 10 a.m., Norden and Biggs led a group of Proud Boys and others from Washington Monument to the west side of the Capitol, around the building to its east side, and back to the Peace Monument on the west side of the Capitol. The, quote, top-down command structure that Tarrio and his co-conspirators had emphasized was on display throughout the march. The group marched in formation, with Nand, Biggs, and Real largely leading the way. Norden and Biggs had positioned themselves at the 1st Street gate shortly before 1 p.m., the scheduled time for the certification to begin. Within minutes of arriving at the 1st Street pedestrian gate at the Capitol, the leaders and members of the MOSD were among the first to unlawfully breach the Capitol grounds, and among the first of thousands to unlawfully occupy the plaza to the west of the Capitol. Minutes later, Tarrio's appointed leaders on the ground, co-conspirators Ethan Norden and Joseph Biggs, moved to the front of the crowd and combined with others to destroy a black metal fence, which allowed the crowd to storm further into the Capitol grounds. At approximately 1 p.m., as Biggs filmed himself celebrating the storming of the Capitol, one MOSD leaders declared in an encrypted chat for members of the group, quote, storming the Capitol right now. Nearly 1 hour later, MOSD leaders and members, including co-conspirators Biggs, Donohoe, and Pazzola, were among the first to overrun a police line leading from the West Plaza to the Upper West Terrace, closer to the building itself. At 2:13 p.m., Pazzola was the first person to breach the Capitol. Pazzola used a stolen Capitol Police riot shield to break a window adjacent to the Senate wing door on the Upper West Terrace, which allowed the first members of the mob to breach the interior of the Capitol. The Electoral College certification was almost immediately halted. Make sure this was the right section. Yeah. So we're going to read a little bit more here. We're going to read this section too. Now, Tarrio incited, directed, and admitted responsibility for the MOSD's attack on the Capitol. Just over 20 minutes after Pazzola breached the Capitol with a riot shield, Tarrio made a public post on social media that read, quote, after I finish watching this, I'll make a statement about my arrest, but for now, I'm enjoying the show. Do what must be done. Hashtag we the people. At 2:38 p.m., Tarrio made a public post on social media that read, don't fucking leave. At the time of his post, multiple MOSD members and leaders were inside the Capitol. Tarrio made a public post on social media that read, proud of my boys and my country. Around this time, a Proud Boys member posted in the encrypted message chat, are we a message-let? Tarrio responded with a one-word voice note, yup, and then posted, make no mistake, and then, we did this. Later that day, Tarrio posted a message in the same group chat that stated, they'll fear us doing it again. A member of the group asked, so what do we do now? Tarrio responded, do it again. Now, while Norden and Biggs were moving in and out of the Capitol building, Tarrio attempted to communicate with them by phone. Tarrio placed a phone call to Nordum at 2:53 p.m. and to Biggs at 2:54. Biggs had a 42-second call with Tarrio at 2:54 p.m. Minutes before the call, Biggs had exited the Senate chamber and made his way outside of the Capitol. At 11:16 p.m., Tarrio posted a message on social media that featured a video of a masked man resembling Tarrio wearing a full black cape standing in front of a deserted Capitol building. This video was captioned, premonition. So I'm going to call it there on this because I think this says what we need it to say. So the Proud Boys and their compatriots, so to speak, have tried to stress that they were not really planning anything or really doing anything much to the public, but in private, in messaging apps they thought would never come to the light of day, admitted they were instrumental in helping storm the Capitol, in fact, inciting the riots themselves. Now, MOSD, due to the paramilitary nature of the Proud Boys, likely means Missions, Objectives, and Strategy Document channel. In other words, the leaders' chat of Proud Boys for January 6th. Now, Rhodes is also a huge leader in the militia movement. For those that may not know, the Oath Keepers are a group that is nominally dedicated to protecting the right of the Second Amendment from both enemies, foreign and domestic. What they essentially do is intimidate local law politicians and people to bend to their will to not have any, at all, restrictions of any kind, no matter how minor, I guess is a good word, that those restrictions may be. For example, red flag laws, or having to not be able to carry your weapon anywhere you go, including a bar. So and Rhodes started under Obama. And I'll just say it. When I was a young boy, when I was young, dumb, just getting out of college, say like 20 years old, 20, 21 years old, right before, actually I was still in college, so I was probably 20. I was looking for different groups to join while I got out of college. I went to a private military school. I had kind of a military mindset, and I wanted to get involved in politics. So I, on the internet, went and looked for different groups to get involved. One of the groups that I found and stumbled upon was the nascent the nascent, sorry, I gotta look it up now. My brain is not working. Oath Keepers, the nascent group Oath Keepers, and actually joined their first forum to find out what they were talking about. And what I saw there, and I fucking shit you not, was a lot of racism against Obama. I mean, that should be expected, right? But for a group that was about protecting the Second Amendment, their primary concern seemed at the time to be just about Democrats and Obama. Him being a Muslim or possible Muslim and that sort of thing. Maybe getting revenge on the white man. That's the kind of stuff that was being posted in the forums. There was some tamp down to that. And to be fair, in preceding years, they actually widowed out some of those people. But Rhodes himself was likely one of those people. And he has just gotten worse over the years when it comes to his idea of what is and is not acceptable for government to do. Oh, I'm getting a little sweaty. There we go. That's better for lighting. So yeah, that's where I saw this. All right. And I personally don't like the existence of private militias. This isn't to say that I think they should be done away with legally or otherwise. If people want to come together and like shoot guns, more power to you. But when they're like the Proud Boys and they're actively engaged in starting riots, in finding fights, in starting fights, in recruitment for political stuff, I don't know, man. It's pretty bad. Pretty bad. Thank you, Mesmer, for the follow. Appreciate it. So, yeah, I really am uncomfortable when they get this political. And I suppose a militia group will always be political in some nature, at least in the United States, with how much people dislike or like guns. It's like you either like them or you don't. And if you're one or the other, you want to see the other side to lose. So there is that issue. Yeah, I actually, Mezer, that is probably true. Let's go ahead and put that up on screen. So Mezer says Proud Boys are radical idealists. Their idealism will cause harm to many. True. And being who they are and what they have done, they actually look for violence. I consider them to be nascent fascist, or if not outright fascist. I won't call them Nazis necessarily, And that's because they seem to care more about toxic masculinity and keeping, Western chauvinism, and if you West is the best and that sort of thing. And it's definitely xenophobic. It's definitely hyper nationalistic, but it doesn't necessarily play into racial superiority. There's enough plausible deniability with that regard, especially after they kicked out some high profile out and out racist from their organization, that it doesn't do any good necessarily to thanks again, Wall Jump, appreciate it. It doesn't necessarily do any good to call them Nazis. Fascist, I don't think there's any argument about this. They are a gang. They go out, they look for violence. They are reactionaries to feminism, to progressivism. They think that Democrats are communist and they want to stomp them in the ground. To me, that's fascist. And it's the hallmark of it. And they claim to be for free speech and all this other stuff, but they're against talking about LGBT rights. They're against talking about trans rights. They're against moving the ball forward culturally. In fact, they're very culturally regressive, and that makes them more towards the fascist side than it is for like a standard run-of-the-mill Republican. Oh, that's also a fair comment. Let me put that on there too. Also coming from Mezer, it's easy, quote, to call them Nazis because of the associated level of hate and anger against Nazis. Therefore, people will associate the same level of hate and maliciousness with the Proud Boys and duly acceptable. Yeah, that's fair. But for me personally, I'm not going to make that judgment. I'm not going to make that. It's not even a leap. I won't make that step until more information comes out that shows us otherwise. You might say it's called splitting hairs. I think it's important, but I'm not going to beleaguer the point any longer. All right. But that is what we have for the Proud Boys. Now, we also have other news coming out of the January 6th Commission. And this bit of information is actually very interesting. So in a last-ditch effort, the RNC, the Republican National Committee, has decided to sue its own email service provider, Salesforce. And you know what? I made the graphics. I'm going to try to get them up here. It didn't work for me very well, so let's control. There we go. There we go. Salesforce. Look at that. It's the next one on there. So they're suing Salesforce to prevent turning over information to the Select Committee. The Select Committee is interested in the Salesforce data to gain a better understanding of how false claims of election fraud were used to raise money for Trump-aligned political efforts. The subpoenaed records include extensive information on who the RNC sent its fundraising emails, who received them, and how effective they were at raising money in the wake of the 2020 election. The RNC has, quote, asked the court to expedite consideration of this case. And I hate to say it, folks. I really do. I don't like Republicans. When I say I don't like Republicans, I don't like the Republican Party. That's what I should say. Regular old Republicans. Hey, whatever. Come watch me. I like you all are fine. Your party's leadership's kind of but they have a point here. The amount of information that would be released to the Select Committee is massive. And there is no reason to assume that information will remain in the Select Committee. Now, we can say what we want about politicians and their fidelity to legal and moral, ethical considerations, but there is too much personal information available in these records. And those records, if given in the way that the Select Committee is requesting, could reveal a huge host of privacy concerns, especially for small-time donors to the Republican Party. Now, there are ways for Salesforce to comply with the subpoena that would not release a massive amount of information, but that will take time. And so the Republicans suing, even though it might be for rank partisan reasons, is actually the right call here. And I hope that the information is released in such a way that will protect the identities of those that had gotten hit with emails, and maybe, I'm not entirely sure, maybe the amount of money that it raised in the process. Salesforce, like any large organization, has people like me, data scientists, on its staff that could provide this information directly and in summarized form to the select committee. And maybe that's the way it should be done. I am not a judge, though, and I am not a legal expert. That goes to our friend, Nate Dillon. Hopefully you're still watching. And if not, please comment on this later. But so that's not my wheelhouse. So I don't know if that's possible. But if we can have this information released in such a way that can be, that would be the way to do it. Summarized form, data science applied, to answer all these questions that the select committee is asking, and protect people's privacy at the same time. All right. Wow, I was worried I was going to run out of copy, but it looks like I'm not going to. This is fantastic. So for those that might not know, normally our copy is written by our very own Nikki Adams, but this week she had to take some personal time, and so I have written this copy myself. So yeah, this is the copy that I have written. Normally she does it, and it saves me a lot of time, and the copy she writes is fantastic. Watch any of our previous episodes and you'll see how good it is. And so this is my first attempt to write the copy that I'm reading from, and I think it's going pretty well. But you all let me know. I don't want to toot my own horn too much. I was just worried I wouldn't have enough, and it looks like I have plenty. Appreciate that, Mezer. Thank you. We are trying to stay objective here at Crowdsource Politics. I'll come out and say it. I am liberal. I'm probably the furthest left liberal you'll meet on Twitch. It's the way I like to call myself. Means I'm like capitalistic skeptic, but not pro-socialism, I guess is the best way to say it when it comes to economics. And I'm just be real. I'm a degenerate, man. Like, I like doing things that are considered and like gross by some people or whatever. Like, when it comes to like cultural stuff, do whatever the fuck you want. I don't care. Except kids. And so, yeah, that's where I come down on this. But thank you. I am glad that my attempts to be as